If you want to level up your communication skills in 2026, there are 6 powerful mindset shifts you need to adopt to help you become a more effective communicator. The truth is, most people love learning tips and tricks to become a better communicator, but without learning the right mindset, it can keep you trapped with ineffective communication. It's kind of like being a chef who keeps collecting recipes, but you never actually end up cooking any of the dishes. By the end of this video, I guarantee that you'll have a completely different perspective when it comes to communication in every single area of your life. Number 1, the mindset shift to deal with nervousness. The one big mindset shift, I would say, to make that reduces nervousness is learning about how to not be so self-conscious. Because if you think about it, the reason we get nervous is because we become overly self-conscious. If you don't spend any of your cognitive capacity on focusing on yourself, how can you be nervous? And that's the beginnings of nervousness. Because when you start thinking, oh, I wonder what people think of me, I wonder what people are thinking of what I'm saying, I wonder how people think of what they're thinking of my voice, I wonder if they think I am dressing well today, I wonder if they think my thoughts are in a coherent structure, and then it's me. And then the moment you start thinking about you the whole time, do you think you get more nervous or less nervous? You get more nervous. So what that means is the more consciousness you place on the self in those moments, more self-conscious you're going to be. So the best mindset shift to make when you're about to present and you're feeling nervous is realize that it's not about you. If you're about to get in front of 10-15 people, it's actually about the 10 to 15 people you're about to serve. And when you spend all of that consciousness and cognitive capacity thinking about other people, what that means for you is that you have no cognitive capacity left to think about the self, which means there's no room for self-consciousness. So you're no longer self-conscious, you are now audience conscious. You are now conscious about the audience and focused on them. It's one of the most powerful ways that I've learned how to reduce nervousness. I used to live in America and I grew up in Australia, and in Australia we never used the word serve, and that's what I first came across. That word was in America, where they often have that mindset of service where they say, how can I serve you? You know, and I think being in a mindset of service, making it about others and not yourself, very important mindset shift. I've spoken in front of audience members of thousands, and I've been able to reduce it just with that single mindset shift. I go, you know what, if I just focus on making it about them and I can just get through to one person, it'll make this entire thing worthwhile. Because if I shared my content and they shift the way they communicate, it's going to completely change their lives. They're going to get the promotion that they've always wanted. Okay, I'm going to focus on that person as I'm delivering the presentation, and already, even as I'm thinking about this, I feel better already, because I'm not thinking about myself. Number 2, the mindset shift to stop rambling. It's one of the traits that leads to ineffective communication. Either we talk in circles, we repeat ourselves, or we ramble and we give too much information. And I have seen this. The best remedy for this to start fixing the problem is learn this one simple start of a sentence. And it's the one thing. Start your sentence with the one thing. So if I was to start talking about magic, oh my goodness, I could talk to you about sleight of hand. I could talk to you about sleight of mind. I could talk to you about all the different types of magic. I could talk about mentalism. I could also talk about gag magic. So magic using props, I could talk about, and then again I could just start rambling. But then the moment I give myself the framework of the one thing, if someone wanted me to talk about magic, I could say the one thing about magic that you need to know. Showmanship is a critical ingredient, not just technical skill. So what? Beginning with the sentence, saying the one thing does, is it gives your mind the ability to focus on what's the core thing people should take away from that. What's the core thing? And then all of a sudden you start with the end in mind, as opposed to when you don't start with the one thing. Your brain now will just keep rattling off everything the other person needs to know about the project. Especially if it's a work context, they'll give you 17 updates in one. And it just allows that crazy mind that all of us have crazy brains. They're all crazy. It just allows us to channel our thinking and channel our dialogue. And if you want to start to get fancy, it's the one thing, it's the two things, or it's the top three things of this. It's a very simple way to get really focused. And it's something to start with, and you'll be shocked at what that does. And if you give that to people as a tool who tend to be a little scattered, it's unbelievable how concise they're capable of being. Just by giving them that simple framework. This next one is a big adjustment you have to make psychologically, and I'll make this psychological shift for you. In one example, I hear this all the time. People go, Vin, my industry, the topic is so dry, it's so boring. Anybody else feel there? In an industry like that, they go, oh, the topic I talk about is so boring, it's so dry. My industry is so boring, it's so dry. Everybody else who talks about this topic is so boring, it's so dry. Do you know what you have to realize? Your industry might be boring. Your topic might be boring. But you don't have to be boring. Yeah, you don't have to be boring. And I think people tend to think, oh, my industry is boring. My content, I guess I'm going to be boring too. No. What you'll find crazy is that the thought leaders in certain areas of expertise, they tend to just be the person who's the best communicator in that realm. Because they're able to communicate it in the most exciting and most fun and engaging way. It's like Neil deGrasse Tyson, extremely intelligent man, but because he's able to communicate physics and talk about physics in such a strong and charismatic way, people now love physics because of him. Like I love physics and I love learning about astronomy and all of these different things because of him, whereas there are people who don't like learning about finance because they think about their professor in finance at university. So what I'm saying is there are so many things you can learn to be able to make yourself more engaging, instead of just giving the information, what could I be using as a metaphor? What could I be using as a form of demonstration in my presentations? What funny picture could I show to illustrate something that's happening? What funny video could I show as a metaphor to demonstrate something interesting that links to the topic that I'm talking about? Hey, by the way, if you are new here or if you love watching my videos and you wanted to join me for a class to learn in a more structured way, then click the link in the description, or I've also left a pinned comment with the link that you can click as well. It's completely free. I hope you'll come join me for a class. Number 4. The power of storytelling. In job interviews, you need to use storytelling because we all know what's the first question every interviewer asks in every interview we ever do. Tell me a little bit about yourself. They literally, at the beginning of every interview, give you permission to share a story. And if you use that opportunity to share a story, what that does is it allows you to use a more powerful connection device that creates connection for an extended period of time. Even after the interview, the connection lingers. That's how powerful a story actually is. Let me give you an example. So I'm going to give you a role play situation right now. So say, for example, I was in an interview and they said, hey, then tell me a bit about yourself. It's very easy for me now just to say, oh, look, I'm someone who's very, I'm punctual. Honesty is a big attribute that I admire, being respectful. And then I'm just listing off traits. And let's say I was applying for head of innovation or something. Instead of doing that, imagine you went in and you shared a story about yourself, and imagine I went into that and I said, "Hello, Susan." And then Susan says, "Oh, Vin, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself?" I said, "Oh, Susan, thank you, Susan. When I was younger, believe it or not, I didn't fulfill the Asian prophecy. No, I didn't become an accountant. I left my degree in accounting to pursue magic. And Susan, the reason I loved the magic and I pursued magic was because, and yes, my parents were disappointed. They love me now though, Susan. But the reason I pursued magic was because I loved problem solving. That's what magic is, Susan, people. People don't realize it, but a magic trick is just a problem you can't solve. And I loved being able to just sit with a problem that I couldn't solve. I used to watch the videos from David Copperfield. I'd watch it, then I'd watch it in reverse, then I'd watch it in slow. Man, I'd obsess about it until I would be able to solve how the problem was done. And Susan, the reason why I bring this up as you ask me, tell me a bit about yourself, is because I believe that as head of innovation, you need someone who obsesses over problem solving. And I can tell you that in my career now, that's become my superpower. Pause. Or all of a sudden, now I have the opportunity to share something insightful about myself, have a little bit of fun, and I now am building rapport by sharing more about me. And also because I now a storyteller, I now have stood out from every other candidate who just said, I'm punctual. My biggest flaw is that I'm a perfectionist. Right? They keep using that. Now they're going to remember. Oh, do you remember Vin Hills? A magician loves problem solving. Not only does it build rapport, it builds connection. And not only does it do that, it makes you more memorable. And when you start off with a stronger connection tool, because trust me, I know that this happens with me. You will have your own versions of this. If you've got a strong enough story, they're gonna go, "Really? You did what? You used to be a magician." Or they'll go, "What? Really? You used to be into this sport, or you did that, or you did this." All of a sudden now it opens up the door for more connection. And I think it's so critical to learn how to storytell. Well, because within a job interview, there's not just one opportunity to storytell. There's so many opportunities to storytell. At the start, you've got a free opportunity to do it. And then after that, you've got multiple other opportunities where you can share a story. And it comes up in the places where you least expect, where they say, "Hey, tell me about how you would deal with this situation, Vin." That's actually an opportunity for storytelling, because instead of the way I'll deal with that opportunity, that situation is, I'll do A, B, C, D. Well, instead of doing that, you go, "I've experienced that situation in the past, and 4 years ago, we had a situation in the organization where X, Y, and then you story share, and that makes all the difference." Tactically, storytelling enhances rapport to a whole nother level. This is why the unfortunate thing happens in life where, and I know you feel this, where you're like, "Ah, damn you, Brad got the job promotion, Brad got the job," and you know that Brad's not as smart as you. You know that you're smarter than Brad. But it's because Brad understands how to build rapport. Brad knows how to storytell. He builds stronger connections with people. He gets the job. We don't. I've been there because I've had a Brad in my life. Number 5, dealing with negative comments about your growth. Vin, how can I not care about what people think? I find that this is the main reason that I get held back when it comes to me talking differently, even me changing the way I dress. First of all, there's a wonderful quote that Brené Brown has made very popular, and it's by Theodore Roosevelt, and it's called "The Man in the Arena." Have a listen to it, and maybe even close your eyes as you listen to this. It makes it more theatrical. But here's the quote. "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the door of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust, sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement. And at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold, timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Oh, I love this. This is such a powerful quote, right? Because what it points out is that the people who just judge you and critique you, the people who just leave comments on the way that you are talking because you're trying to improve the way you communicate, they're not in the arena with you. And the only people I really care about, the opinions of those that I actually care about, are the people who are actually in the arena with me. Right. So if you are in the arena with me and you are getting punched and you are getting thrown around as you're trying to improve your communication skills and you are making mistakes, well then I'll take your concerns more seriously. Whereas most people who just judge you and they're not in the arena, I'm not really going to accept your feedback, and I'll say thank you, but no thank you. So that's the first way that I deal with feedback, especially when I create content as well, because I create content so much online, I get a lot of negative feedback. How do I deal with that negative feedback? Well, the person who left me the comment that was really mean, I don't even give them the time of the day, but I often think to myself, why are you in the arena of content creation? Have you been creating content for the last 10 years like I have? Well, if you don't, well then, don't mind me as I choose not to take that piece of feedback on board. So again, that's the first thing that I'm going to say to you. Now, I'm going to give you more than just one thing. The second thing that I'm going to say to you is that the reality is if you try to please everyone, you'll please no one. That's one of the most important rules I learned in the water theatre, and it's that if you try to please everyone, you're gonna please no one because you'll do nothing. You'll be so scared to do anything because you don't want anyone to be upset by you doing something, and because you don't want to just disrupt anyone, you just end up doing nothing different, and then as a result you end up pleasing no one. I know that I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay. I'm fine with that, and you should be too. So that's the second thing I want to say. And the third thing, the final thing that I want to say to you is that the reason why we're so afraid of what other people think is because we think everybody is thinking about us all the time, and that just couldn't be further from the truth. There's a beautiful quote from Mark Twain, who says the following quote, "You worry less about what people think about you when you realize how seldom they do." People aren't thinking about you yet. We're sitting there thinking, oh, people are always thinking about me. They're thinking about how I sound. I just said something wrong. They're going to be thinking about that for the rest of their lives. The reality is, no, they're not. They're more concerned about, last night I went to the grocery store. I bought the butter that was on sale. Then I ate it, and it didn't taste very good. So now I've made a big wrong decision. I'm never going to buy that brand of butter again. I'm going to make sure I go back to the grocery store next week and buy the good brand of butter, and I'm not going to cheap out on. That's what they're thinking about. They're thinking about their own lives and them. Yet you are sitting there going, oh my God, everyone's thinking about me. Thinking about me. There's a psychological concept called the spotlight effect, and people think the spotlights are always on them, so if everybody thinks the spotlight's on them, nobody's thinking about each other really. So I say that whole concept, not to be mean. I say that to free you from the fear of judgment. It's not real. You know, all of us allow something that's not real. Stop us from changing the way we sound. Stop us from changing the way we communicate. Stopping us from changing the way sometimes we even dress. Because we go, Oh, I can't wear that. People are gonna think I'm crazy. Well, they're not thinking about you anyway. So the only person that's thinking you're crazy is you. Number 6. Immersion. When it comes to communication skills, immersion is critical. You have to immerse yourself in it. And this is what happened to me when I was younger. Because as I was learning English, the only times I would speak English at school was during recess and lunch. And I tried to keep that to a minimum too, because I didn't like the way I sounded. I didn't like the way I spoke. I didn't like so many grammatical errors. I would only practice speaking English, probably about 10 minutes a day, and I wondered, why do I suck? Why am I so bad at this? And it was because of the simple reason that I didn't practice. I didn't immerse myself in it. And you've got to understand this, because the most common flaw that people make when they're practicing the communication skills, it's this: they say, "Veen, I don't have anyone to practice with. There's no opportunities for me to practice my communication skills." And that is one of the greatest illusions in the world, because my vocal teacher gave me the answer to this, because I used to tell her, "Oh, there's no point in me practicing. I have no one to practice with. I have nowhere to practice." Do you know what she said to me? She goes, "You're a silly young man. You're a silly, silly young man." Little bit of a stupid man, if I might say. I love her. I love how she's nice and with a touch of meanness. It's beautiful. It just gets me. It motivates me in the right way. And then she goes, "Honey, every time you open your mouth, that is you composing. Every time you open your mouth, that is an opportunity to practice. So never use that excuse with me again. Can you open your mouth while you're by yourself?" I remember what she said. I was like, yeah, I can't open my mouth when I'm by myself. That's actually a good point. So all of a sudden I literally started talking to myself as I was practice. I'd have questions for myself, and I'd just talk to myself. I'd practice, and I'd just start practicing all of the vocal qualities that I desired. I started to practice with the structure of storytelling, the structure of using my voice and body. I started to practice by myself. Think about it. Musicians, when they're practicing with their instrument, do they always have an audience? Where do they practice? Who are they playing for? They're playing for themselves as they're practicing before they get to the concert. People say the definition of luck is when preparation meets opportunity, whereas I think far too many of us don't prepare, and as a result of not preparing with the skill of masterful communication, the job interview comes along, and then we don't speak in a way that has executive presence. We don't use storytelling to build connection, and then as a result, we thought that we would rise to the occasion. But in actual reality, you don't rise to the occasion. You fall back to your level of preparation. And this is why some people go, "Oh, I'm so lucky in my life." Well, it's because that person has prepared a lot in their life. And when some people go, "Oh, I'm so unlucky," well, it's because you haven't been preparing. Opportunities still come your way. They do. But because you haven't prepared, it doesn't look like it's an opportunity. It comes up as failure. It comes up as missed opportunities. When you start to prepare, opportunities now start to look like career progress. You actually see it as success. It's because of the preparation. So don't wait until you need it. Let 2026 be the year you prepare, so that for 2026, 2027, moving forward, you'll be the luckiest person. You'll be the luckiest person,